Fresh out the box! Fresh out the box! Fresh out the box! Fresh out the box. Fresh out the box.
I am the co-host of Fresh Out the Box. It's me, a Casualty CDG, and I am holding before your very eyes my copy of the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game playtest rulebook. I'm excited to take a look at it with my friends Rune and Jahan here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Riley Davis, aka Rune, and I'm nobody important on the internet, which is just the way I like it. If you really have to find me, I can be located in the Champions Online MMO, where I lead a over 12-year long and strong role-playing supergroup called the Silver Age Sentinels. And I can be found there by in-game email or a simple in-game tell if I'm online as @RUNE. Vampire Bites is saying your voice is not coming through, John. Is my audio coming through, everybody? Yeah, I mean, I hear you guys fine, yeah. Okay. How strange. Okay. Weird. Your audio. Well, let's fix it real quick. Take it away, Gary.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, what's going on my side? There we go. Well, Jahan's getting his thing sorted. We'll take a look. I'll pick up where he left off. We both have the physical copies. We ended up getting the Roll20 compendium so we can kind of look at it online, but it's not in the order of the book in the least. It's just broken down by the different chapters, and then it's missing a lot of the flair. It's missing a lot of the art. Of course, you're not getting one of the best things I thought about this book was some of the character art along the way. And so you're missing out on that with the Roll20 version. And also a lot of people don't believe in paying $10 for a playtest, which I could see that if you want to argue with that also. But I wanted the art. I wanted this on my shelf, and I'll probably buy the full copy too. I've already read through it. Annie, my wife, and I, we made characters. We looked at everything. it's missing a lot, but it's a playtest, so of course it's missing a lot. There were things I already had in my mind I wanted to do. I wanted to make a guy who got into a suit, but his suit had the power to get really big, like really, really big. But he didn't have that power. So, yeah, his suit would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe it would just suck things magnetically from buildings and pieces of cars and grow. But you can't build a giant grower guy in this game yet. So
they kept
that
it pretty,
aside, I guess we can get into it.
They kept it pretty limited deliberately to specific power sets. And like, when I say specific, I mean, man, oh man, did they put a lot of spider. Like, the whole power of the spider is in here.
Would you say that it's just a really lean version of the rules for a playtest, as opposed to anything intentionally like any? It's not even close to being a full version of the game.
Yeah, it's not even close.
A lean playtest.
This is 100 pages, but it has art on like every page. It breaks things down in big letters, so there's actually not too much. It does seem like you have everything you need to play. It does seem like most of the rule set, but this game has a little bit of 5e, or not 5e, 3.5. It's got rules, and it's got like individual power rules out the yin yang. Like, that's where a lot of this is eaten up. It is like, hey, this is what, like, not even like, hey, you're good at shooting guns, this is what that looks like. No, it's like, okay, you're good at firing both your pistols until they're out of ammo, or you're good at ricochet. Like, it's very specific.
So you're saying it's crunchy?
It's not even crunchy. It's just everything's very specific.
Okay. Yeah, usually that just refers
For
to
instance,
some crunch. I'm okay with crunch, but some people don't like it.
Yeah.
I kick over to page 78, John, as you're talking about powers. I was just looking for a firearm power to compare. The first one I saw is the power is headshot. You have to have stopping power and be rank 10. The duration is instant. It costs you 20 focus, and your character makes a ranged attack with trouble at an enemy within the weapon's range. If the attack is a success, the enemy takes double normal damage. If it's a fantastic success, the enemy takes triple. If the enemy suffers any damage, they're stuck for 1 round. So it's the kind of thing that if you're playing this game, you're going to have your spell list next to you.
Yeah.
And if you have guns, you have a spell list. If you have blades, you have a spell list. If you have super strength, you have a spell list.
Yeah, it's definitely crunchy then.
Honestly, that almost sounds more 4th edition now that I hear you say it.
It really does. This is what I was first saying about this game is everyone has powers. You don't take regular actions. You use your powers. And it is very 4th edition like. And for better or worse, that's what we're looking at here. But since it's just a playtest, I would say one of the biggest problems with 4th edition was that you could just build your stuff so broken and so out there to do such strange things. But this is a playtest, so we can't tell if that's possible yet.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that the more they publish for this game, you're going to be able to make some impossibly, unbelievably stacked power things. But I guess that happens in tabletop games, right?
Yeah.
This isn't the first game to allow you to do that.
This game sounds like it actually does lend to you being very, very overpowered. But we'll get into that. So we'll start off. What kind of dice system is this game? And there's a lot of references throughout this whole book. They really, really use that license, for better or for worse. But in this instance, it made me chuckle. I thought it was funny. It's a 616 roll. It is 3d6. So it's, just like Age, it's a 3d6 system. One of the dice is a different color. That is the Marvel dice. If you buy the actual Marvel dice, which I, for whatever reason, am going to. There's something wrong with me. But it has Marvel written where the one's supposed to be. That, is equatable, I'd say, to like the drama dice. And it functions in a similar way. It does, instead of stunts, you're doing fantastic successes. If you roll a 6, if you roll 2 6s on the other dice and the Marvel symbol on the Marvel dice, you get a fantastic success, which is like a crit. or like an ultimate fantastical. What's it called?
You call it Ultimate Fantastic Success.
Yeah, yeah, it's ultimate fantastic success roll of 18. Even better than rolling 3 regular 6s. So that's the other thing. The Marvel dice, when you roll a Marvel symbol, counts as a 6. So that dice technically has 2 6s on it. But if you roll all 1s, including the Marvel symbol, it counts as a 1. Which is a little wonky, but I think it's interesting. At least they tried something different. And I do appreciate the 616 joke. And we'll see. We'll see how that pans out in actual play. What's up, Mr. Kapow? And also, Vampire Bites, thank you for the subscription. We always appreciate you so very much. We actually we use that subscription money to buy the compendium online. So, boom, look at that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The fans paid for this. But yeah, so
Don't tell him that we spent his money to buy this. He's gonna be so mad. He's gonna be like, "What a waste."
yeah, they might not be the most pleased, but they are very supportive. So
Yes, that's right.
we go.
Thank you for the support. That's the real important thing here.
That's the real important thing. So we talked about.
Let me stop being a dick for a second.
We talked about the 616. We don't need to talk about like, oh, you need a pencil. No, you need a pencil. It talks about session 0.
You don't need a pencil because you bought the Roll20 compendium version.
Yeah, so you can just
So
throw
you
everything
don't need a
right in the
pencil at all.
trash, right? Just throw it straight in the trash.
Yeah, we don't need these anymore, do we?
No, I'm gonna ask Mark Ruffalo to sign it and see how confused he gets. Be like, what the hell is it? Am I in it? No.
You can ask Edward Norton to sign it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh wow. I like Norton. He's great.
They talk about
I like
session
Ruffalo.
0. Yeah, Norton actually was pretty good. I didn't hate it. And then they talk about which universe. So this is they give you the agency. Whatever, pick a universe. Do a fresh one. Maybe where there aren't typical Marvel heroes everywhere. Or, do your remix where you get to fight the Illuminati or, Thor is Odin, stuff like that. Do whatever you want. That's essentially what this is saying. Now we're getting on the core mechanics. Look at that art. I wasn't expecting any art in the compendium. It's actually kind of out of place. Because this compendium's stupid.
Can I see? Hold her up.
Oh, I'm like the Roll20 compendium.
Oh, I don't think it shows me. What are you looking at right now?
Oh, that's true. It doesn't show it. So yeah, that's another thing. It's a whole thing. I'm sharing the compendium with him. Oh, here's the picture. Yeah, it's that same picture.
Oh, cool.
It's Tony making some suits. But yeah, so core mechanics. This may be a big book. The core rulebook will be even bigger, but playing the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game comes down to a few simple things. The narrator sets the stage for the story. They also take on the role of every other character. We already know that kind of stuff. There's going to be action checks, which we also mostly know. But let's talk about how it goes. Often, the heroes perform actions. They are certain to succeed. If so, the narrator simply describes what happens. So, essentially, don't roll if there's no chance of failure. Sometimes you want to attempt something that could fail, and that's when you're going to have to roll a 616 roll. An official Marvel Multiverse role-playing game die has a special Marvel. We already talked about that. They do reiterate things in this.
Yes. By the way, I was wrong. I did find the art. It turns out when I go to that page,
The core mechanics page?
compendium here, it did pop up the art
Excellent.
when I went to that particular one.
It's a good
That's
art.
great.
Yep.
It's a good art.
There's some of the art in there. I remember specifically there's one of Rhino that I thought was just worth the price of admission for the book.
I think I know which one.
There's
you're
also
talking about.
one of Juggernaut.
What's the name of the
This
section?
is the.
I'll take a look.
I'm actually not sure. This is the Juggernaut one that I saw that I was like, yeah, this book is awesome. And then there was
That
another
looks
one
like
with
Onslaught,
Rhino.
maybe, but I can't quite see it.
We'll try to get it closer, but either way, it's coming
Yeah,
through
it's
a
definitely
webcam, so
Juggernaut.
it's
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's some good art in here. If I find that rhino, I'll hold it up too.
There is good art. But yeah, so the ordinary roll, if the total is greater than or equal than the target number, you guys, if you play TTRPGs, you're familiar with this concept. If you don't, target numbers are just where you're setting the difficulty. Usually there's a table to set the scalability of endeavors to the math of the system. In which
That rhino image was in the Bruiser section, Jahan. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
he's the title character for Bruisers.
Well, I'm going to look at that.
So you pass or fail on the target number. Pass or fail. You did it. You didn't do it. Stuff happens. The narrator decides in the event of either what transpires. Blah blah blah. Botched roll. With a botched attempt, you automatically fail no matter what you got in total. Even if you add a bunch of stuff to your roll, it's an auto fail. Fantastic rolls. If your total exceeds is equal to or greater than the target number, you achieve fantastic success. You didn't just succeed, you triumphed. Many powers in the Marvel Multiverse game have extra effects that are triggered. That's what we're talking about. Every power has a lot of specific things tagged onto it. But yeah. If your total is less than the target number, you failed at the action, but something good still happens, just maybe not what you were expecting. That's fantastic failure. Boom. Fantastic rules. Fantastic rules add extra drama to the game. See, they even say drama when they're referring to this 3D6 system, which I think is really funny. Because as a huge,
the drama dice.
Yeah, as a huge fan of Age, like, man, they're similar, but they don't have stunts in this one. So stunts are what really make the Age system.
But they should. Yeah, stunts are awesome.
Stunts are awesome. Yeah, it's
probably every tabletop game that we ever play from here on out should have stunts. There's something cool about rolling doubles and getting points that you can spend on these general actions that make you think outside the box. Instead of just doing the usual, my character punches. The stunts kind of, you're like, well, I can punch, but instead of punching, I could do this and this, and the stunts make you do that. It's wonderful.
Yeah, they really make things get out of control. I enjoy it a lot. We need to do a whole talk about the Age system one of these days. Definitely.
Yeah, that's right. I'm getting carried away with stunts, and we're not even talking about an Age game.
We like the game, but yeah. So it's funny that's similar there. Fantastic rolls add extra drama to the game, but when a player gets a fantastic success, that's considered a yes and result. The action succeeds, and an extra special something happens. Fantastic failure, on the other hand, is no but. The action fails, but something special still happens. Many powers list an effect for a fantastic success. If nothing is listed, the controlling player can suggest something, subject to the narrator's approval. When it comes to failures, there are no set standards. Instead, the extra effect is up to the player. They get to suggest an idea for that special something on the spot. If the narrator approves, then it happens. So if you mess up, but it's a fantastic failure, you can say something happens anyways. Something not along with the plan, but something cool nonetheless. I like that. Ultimate Fantastic roll. Lucky players might wind up with the Ultimate Fantastic, 616. If a player makes such a roll, they automatically succeed at whatever they're attempting to do and can ignore any trouble, which is the opposite of an edge, which we will talk about soon.
So, Jahan, here's the example of a character making their roll, and then they fail fantastically, and the game master lets them decide what happens. It goes from Spider-Man swinging along, minding his own business, to him falling directly onto the hood of a police car. Maybe just for comedic effect. Maybe the police were on the way, and that's how he wanted them to enter the scene.
Maybe that was the player saying, hey, the police are here. I could really use them for crowd control. Yeah. Definitely. No, see, exactly. And that's another thing we talk about a lot. Giving the players extra agency narratively can, not always, but can be a really good thing.
Yeah, sometimes what the players have in their mind for successes or for failures is much better than, not much better, but different than what a game master has in their mind. And the more great minds and players you get around the table, you might have a great idea for someone else's scene, how it could play out. So yeah, we like to give our table some agency there to make sure that we're creating the best story together, because that's what this is all about anyways, is creating a story as a team.
Except now we get to do it in the MCU.
Now I get
We
to do it
always
with
could.
spider powers.
Maybe not officially.
It's as official as it's going to get for a while, at least, unless we get real lucky. Hey,
Well,
Marvel.
There have been prior Marvel games, and I've played almost all of them.
Yeah. Target numbers. This is what we were talking about earlier. For the veterans in the chat, I'm sure you know what target numbers are. But here's just a quick table to give you an idea of the range of what you need to beat. So I don't know why they bother having this. It's trivial. -7
Right.
is
Modify
the
the target number itself. By seven.
yeah modifier if they're doing something that's difficult or that's trivial for some reason, you take 7 off of the target number.
Personally, I would just say, why bother rolling for trivial?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Easy's -4, routines -2, challenging 0, difficulty +2, ridiculous +4, impossible +7. So there's actually like a set number thing here that you are adding those to, which I don't understand why they would make like this plus-minus table when they can just make a table that tells you what target numbers mean what. But it might have something to do with higher levels of play. I don't really know. Because me and Rune were talking about how high these numbers get later on.
That's right. At higher numbers of play, they get really, really, really high.
I
You're
see
adding.
why.
Yeah.
I see why, John. It says, for instance, imagine that Colossus and Nightcrawler are paragliding on vacation and decide to zoom through a tiny hole in a cliff. This maneuver is considered a ridiculous task for a rank 5 character, but the same task could be considered easier, like less than ridiculous, for a higher rank character. That's why they have a modifier thing, I guess.
So that's exactly what it is. You guys were right. The numbers get so high late game that you would get, a -7 for Nightcrawler to teleport from here to over there because he can do it.
Yeah.
Basically. But again, to your point, Rune, and what Jahan was saying too, why even roll it? You can do it. Your character has proven he can do it
If it's
through
trivial, you shouldn't bother rolling, right?
Yeah, through 15 or 20 levels, you've proven you can do that already.
Conscious B just got here. First time chat. Welcome to
Conscious
the chat.
B.
Yes, it is a D6. It is a 3D6 system. They call it a 616 system. And we did talk about it a little bit. The Marvel dice is the one. And if you roll a 1 on the Marvel dice, it counts as a 6 unless you roll all 1s. So there's like a little bit here. But yeah, welcome.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. These are what the Marvel dice will look like if you want to spend real dollars on real Marvel dice.
Which I will, regrettably. I have a problem.
Sucker. Just kidding. No, I'm a collector. I'm a total collector. If I enjoy the game and I end up playing it, I'll buy a set of the dice too. I know I will.
That's interesting. Vampire Bite says, one of the biggest deals about this Marvel game is that it is being directly published by Marvel, not licensed out, which is interesting. Right. And that explains why, like...
This is the first time they haven't licensed it. They're doing it themselves.
That explains why they just smeared their cheese all over this book, man. It's in every nook and cranny here.
So one of the things that you and I usually talk about in these game systems, Jahan, is whether or not they did a good job making it feel like the thing. Did they make it horror? Did they make it sci-fi enough? They made this Marvel enough, I would say.
They made this very Marvel, yeah.
I would say they did it. You don't ever read a page of this and forget what you've got in your hands.
No.
This is as Marvel as it gets.
I was going to say earlier, I like to think that Matt Forbeck, who's been working for Marvel for 4 or 5 years now, I think, maybe even a little longer, that he's probably been, like the whole time he's been there, he's probably been pushing for this for a while. Like I would assume, since he has a history in RPG design already, that he probably got into there thinking, maybe I can massage this into happening someday. And that's probably what's going on.
That's a hell of a goal, and I'm glad somebody did it. That's like every tabletop nerd's dream, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, if I had my hope, I would actually have hoped that they'd licensed it to Green Ronin, so we could get an official Marvel game that used the same Mutants and Masterminds rules that the DC game came out with. Because that would be what the fans would really want, is a game with full crossover potential like that. But maybe Marvel won't do that specifically because of that.
Let's make it happen, Gary. We know literally every person.
Yeah, all we got to do is get everybody in a room and have a conversation, right?
Right.
Sounds so easy when you say it like that.
But yeah.
Do we want to get into the archetypes yet, Jahan? Is that where are we
are
approaching
on
archetypes?
Edge in trouble.
Oh, we're one page
Edge is
ahead.
in
I'm
trouble.
sorry.
Okay, let's look at that.
You want to read Edge, Gary?
Yeah, I can read Edge in trouble. Sometimes circumstances can help the dice go your way, and sometimes they hurt your chances instead. That's the difference between having an edge and having trouble. Edge. If your character makes an action under favorable circumstances, uses special skills, employs top-notch tools, or otherwise has an advantage, the narrator can grant your character an edge. If so, you can re-roll a single die on that action check and use the better of the two numbers. For instance, if you roll a 4 and a 5 on ordinary dice and a 2 on the Marvel die, you can re-roll the Marvel die. Ooh. In case you don't know how re-rolling works. On the other hand, if you roll a 1 and 1 on your ordinary dice and a 5 on your Marvel dice, you might choose to re-roll one of the ordinary dice instead. Sometimes you may have an edge from several circumstances that stack together, giving you a double edge, a triple edge, and so on and so forth. That's great. That's one of the things we used to talk about in Dungeons and Dragons was, I've got advantage, but can I have double advantage? And we actually homebrew played with double advantage. Yeah. We allowed it. But we stopped it there. We didn't do triple, quadruple, but in this game, you can do that. Your edges can continue to stack until they don't stack anymore.
Oh, I would never stop stacking that in D&D. If you have quadruple advantage, then you have quadruple advantage.
Oh, you'd allow your players to do a quadruple advantage?
Hell yeah.
We always just stopped at double just so because it gets to a point where it's like, you can almost argue advantage in any situation. And so, I don't know, we just took that away. Like, you can have double. Good,
see,
close
I was
enough.
a little stricter on when you would get advantage, though. No.
For instance, if you have an edge...
in this game, though, is that when you're re-rolling, you're not guaranteed better than the previous die.
Sure.
You could re-roll a die and get worse.
Sure.
So having many more stacked up doesn't necessarily increase your odds of getting
better. You can actually really screw yourself on these rolls by re-rolling.
Yeah, because you keep the second roll or you keep the third roll. You don't get to... That's exactly right. You're right, Rune. You're right.
So it's just a choice. It's like gambling now. Like, you can have 4 or 5 edges, but if you use them all, you're just gambling to get better. Or you're really unlucky and you keep getting a 1 on a higher. Which could happen.
For instance, if you have an edge because you're berserk and invisible, the narrator could give you double edge. On the other hand, if you have an edge because you're invisible and the target is blind, those sources shouldn't stack. So there's no extra benefit of being invisible when a person is blind.
Honestly,
when you have an edge stacked...
if they're blind, why does it matter if you're invisible?
Okay, all right. Here's why it matters. Because in a team fight, I could be like, hey, he's over there, and you're blind, and you could still engage him.
I feel like if you're a blind hero in Marvel, odds are you don't need someone to say, hey, over there.
I'm thinking blinded is a status, but no, you're right.
That's fair. Maybe it's a status.
Like, if I'm invisible in a room and you're blinded, and your teammates can't say, hey, he's over there, well, then my invisibility sort of matters also.
Sort of.
I want to show you something. Check my screen for what a real-world example of a video game starring Daredevil would look like.
There you go.
Damn it, Rune. It's a first-person Daredevil game. All right, so I think we know how edges work. I think we get that.
Yeah.
Trouble. I think trouble's going to be the same, but opposite. Let's get into it and see. Also, one final thing about edges. You don't have to use an edge. It's the choice. So like Rune was saying, you're gambling. Just because you have 3 edges doesn't mean you have to roll all 3 times and then keep the last one. You can pick when you don't want to use your edge control anymore.
When to hold them.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
trouble.
Yeah.
You may have trouble on an action check if you attempt an action under bad circumstances, lack the appropriate expertise, use poor equipment, or otherwise suffer from a drawback. When you have trouble, the cause of your trouble, usually the narrator, but possibly another player. The trouble can force you to re-roll a die in your action check. you must use the worst of the two numbers. For example, if you roll a 1 and a 1 on the ordinary die and a 5 on the Marvel dice, the narrator would probably have you re-roll the Marvel die. Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes you may have trouble from several circumstances that stack together to cause double, triple, or so on trouble. As with edges, the narrator determines if the various sources can stack. So, yeah, that's the same thing, but the other way. On the next page, it says it's possible to have both edges and trouble at the same time, and they cancel each other out, so you only have to deal with what's left.
Yeah.
I suppose that makes sense as well.
Yep.
I take it back.
And
It
then
says here that you do use the better of the two numbers when you use an edge.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. So having multiple edges would be very powerful.
Very powerful, indeed. That'll take us over to the character profile section.
Okay. I'm opening it now.
Also, here's Spider-Man as an NPC. That's on that page, just kind of thrown in there.
Is it
we
me
do
or
that
is
throughout the book.
Is that Coulson on the top of this page?
Yes.
That is Coulson.
It's
Yeah.
Phil Coulson and the Invisible Woman.
He's perving on her, yeah.
I don't think he's perving on her. Come on. He's more wholesome than that.
That is, he is more wholesome than that, but I do have to say that's a strange pose that she decided on the left one. I don't know.
Yeah, Greg
She's a
Greg
runway
Land
model.
pose. It's a Greg Land pose. If you're familiar with Greg Land.
We're glad to have your expertise here, Rune.
Okay, then allow me to. Okay, I apologize for having to educate you on this. Greg Land is an infamous
don't apologize.
artist who is only infamous because it's known that he rips his poses and art for female superhero characters from porn stars. He literally takes photographs of porn stars and then traces them and then turns them into superheroes on covers. And
Makes
let's
sense.
just say he has an anti-fan following as well as a fan following.
That explains a lot about that.
Yeah.
But I saw a whole video about the ridiculous poses that women are in comic books, and like, because some of them they were showing, like the woman's top half was like turned all the way around almost, so you can see it
Wouldn't work. Break her spine, right?
Yeah, it's just like
Mhm.
Yeah,
you know
sad.
it.
Well, Greg Land is one of those guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Who was that guy in the 90s that couldn't draw feet and he just drew muscles on top of muscles?
Rob Liefeld.
Love Rob Liefeld's work. That shit makes
He's
me
actually
laugh
very
out loud
stylistic
every
artist.
time.
But yes,
Yep.
he couldn't draw feet for the longest time. He can now. 40 years
Good.
old.
I'm glad I was going to say, I'm glad after 20 years of practice.
He took a class. Yeah.
He's always
All right.
had tons and tons of style, though. Yeah.
Page 14 on this Marvel Multiverse playtest is rank. We talk about ranks and archetypes in this section. In this game, you talk about where you want to start on your power level. So you and your group can start at rank 1, or these are benchmarks, I guess. You can choose wherever you want to start, but rank 1 would be you're just getting started. Maybe a day, a week, or a month ago, you thought you were a normal person, and now things are starting to change. Rank 5. Some of your powers have manifested, and you've gained some experience. Maybe you could guard a neighborhood like Daredevil guards Hell's Kitchen, or join a team like the Defenders to protect a whole city. Rank 10, you're an experienced and formidable superhero. You could protect an entire city like Spider-Man protects New York, or join a nationally renowned team like Champions or Alpha Flight. Rank 15, you're one of the most powerful superheroes in the nation. You could be your country's champion, like Black Panther or Captain America. Or you could join an internationally known team like the Avengers, Fantastic Four, or the X-Men. And finally, there's 2 more. Rank 20, you're one of the most powerful superheroes on the planet, like Thor or Doctor Strange. You could protect the entire globe all by yourself. And even elite teams like the Avengers would welcome you eagerly to the ranks. And finally, the rank 25 for power. You're powerful enough to intervene in interstellar conflicts and single-handedly change the outcome. Like Captain Marvel or Silver Surfer, you make choices that decide the fate of entire star systems. I always lean more towards the low power scale. That's more exciting for me. God tier, Galactus, fighting, universe saving stuff to me. I don't know. It doesn't interest me as much, I don't think. I like the gritty, saving the streets type of stuff.
I'm
I
similar.
like it in the mid-range.
I think rank 5 to 10 is my sweet spot.
Yeah. I float between rank 5, 10, and 15 personally for my style. I do
I'm
like
a
a
rank,
little bit of above street level, but not necessarily all the time.
and
I like it when street level is at least still threatening. Yeah.
I like that Jahan's right in the middle because I go on the low side. I go rank 1, 5, 10. Jahan goes 5, 10, 15, and Rune goes, what, 5, 10, 15 also?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are about in the same range. I'm
So,
over
do you mind
here.
if I read
on
the
low
archetype
side.
section?
I would
Got it right here.
love if you read the archetype section. Rune, take it away.
All right, archetypes. Continuing on from after ranks. Many different types of superheroes and supervillains inhabit the Marvel Universe. Each of them brings their own style and strategy into play. For instance, Doctor Doom uses his fiendish inventions and sorcerous powers to defeat his foes, especially that damned Richards, while the Thing relies on brute force and sheer toughness to clobber his enemies. In game terms, Doctor Doom and the Thing have different archetypes. Now, anybody who's played an RPG that has character classes or archetypes already knows what we're talking about anyway. But two characters in the Marvel RPG can have similar powers and yet have totally different archetypes. The character's powers describe the specific amazing things they can do, but their archetype determines the way that they use those powers. The character's archetype works with their rank to determine their available power sets, action modifiers, defenses, health total, and focus total. There are 6 total archetypes. Blaster. Fast but fragile, blasters rely on accurate, powerful shots to defeat their enemies. If bruisers are the tanks of the battlefield, blasters are the artillery. Bruisers. Large, tough, and strong. Bruisers are the tanks of the Marvel Universe. No other character can absorb as much punishment as the bruiser, and only strikers can hit harder in close combat. A genius. Geniuses are inventors, strategists, and manipulators who use their superior intelligence to outsmart or outmaneuver their foes. Famous geniuses include Doctor Doom and Mr. Fantastic. Polymath. Good at everything they do, polymaths are well-rounded champions with a broad set of capabilities. What they lack in specialization, they make up for in flexibility. Famous polymaths include Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Thor. If you want to be broadly capable in a range of roles, for example, a multi-class character, play a polymath. Protector. Protectors are confident heroes who assist, defend, and support their allies. While they don't deal the raw damage of a blaster or striker, protectors act as force multipliers through crowd control and other types of powers. Famous protectors include Doctor Strange, the Invisible Woman, and Professor X. If you want to guide, defend, and support your allies or play a buffing character, play a protector. And the last archetype is the striker. Strikers are strong, agile heroes who excel at close quarters combat. Though not as tough as bruisers, strikers hit harder and move faster, making them the shock troops of the superhuman battlefield. Take it away.
Ability scores. This is where we're going to dip into that theme again. Day spell Marvel, which I'm fine with. I think it's cool that they were able to do that. Might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, and logic.
Before we get too far, of the archetypes, what scratches your guys' itch? What do you of that list? Is there anything that just calls you that direction?
Probably
Either protectors or polymoths for me.
Yeah, probably.
For the same two?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess we're similar.
I also thought Protector sounded like fun. Maybe Striker for me is a secondary, though. Either Protector or Striker. I either want to buff everybody or do the most damage.
Bruisers are always fun too. It's never bad to feel like the toughest guy on the battlefield.
Yeah, I'd be fine doing the genius as well. I'd be fine with any of them, really. I have an idea for each one of those characters. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's always one that kind of jumps out at you whenever you're trying to build
Protector
your first
was
character.
Mine, because magic, I have a soft spot.
That's right.
Well, one thing I find interesting about this game is that, technically speaking, a particular character could be built with different archetypes depending on how you envision it. Like, let's say, for example, you wanted to make a certain, urban legend defender of the night DC character, as your hero
Yes.
in this game, right? With an affinity
Yeah,
for
you can
creatures
make
of the
him.
night.
You can make him a striker. You make him a genius. You can make.
He could
him,
make it. Yeah, he could be a genius. He could be a
protector.
protector. He could be
All
a striker.
six.
Like you could make
All
him like a
six.
ninja striker. He could be.
Polymath.
Mhm.
He could even be a ranged guy if you really want to focus on the batarangs. Like lots of different ways you could build the same character, depending on how you envision your version of the character. Now, I wouldn't say every superhero would necessarily be that broad, but many superheroes could probably be made at least.
Oh,
two or
me and
three.
Gary played this game before.
Yeah, in
Okay.
fact, it was Batman, and then we did another one. We built another hero every single way. I'm gonna flip back
It
and look
wasn't
right
a hero.
now, and I
It
think
was.
I'd love to hear it.
It was what's his name? Chris Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows or whatever. What's his name?
Okay,
yes, it was. It was Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson.
that's funny.
We made him
Mhm.
in every single possible way in City of Mist.
Nice.
Yes, is energy vampire, and
I
there's
never
a
got
lot
to
of
play
different
that
ways.
game, and I wanted to so bad.
That game's fire, bro.
Maybe someday. Yeah, I've heard
I
it's good.
love City of Mist, and they're coming
looks
out with
cool.
like a Neo Tokyo cyberpunk setting,
Oh, cool.
where you're like mythic Japanese hero, like cyberpunk thing. I'm super interested in that too. So
Yeah, we had an affiliate
hopefully-
link for it and everything. Anyone who backed through there gave us some money.
Mhm.
But now that there's a playtest out for it, we actually are probably going to have the creator on sometime. I don't know.
Yeah, creator Amit Moshe. Shout out to Amit Moshe. It's son of Oak Productions, the
Amit.
City of Mist guys. We love Amit. Amit's awesome.
I mean, it is awesome.
I was gonna say F and awesome, but I'll hold my curse words for another time. All right, so the ability scores spell out Marvel. That's cute.
Right, and they sort of map 1-to-1 to the 5e scores. You know, strength, Dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. They're sort of not that different from might, agility, resilience,
Yeah.
and vigilance, ego, logic.
Yeah, they're very
I
dead
guess-
on.
Vigilance is probably closer to wisdom, and ego is probably charisma, and logic's probably intelligence.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I would assign all these to as well. Pretty basic. If you were a TTRPG fan, you're probably familiar with these concepts. If you're not, I'm going to stop. I'm going to break it down for a second just to not exclude anybody. You're welcome here too, even if you're new. But might is pretty obvious. Might's strength. Agility is dexterity. It's ability to move. It's manual dexterity, ability to jump, leap, flip, cool stuff like that. Resilience, yeah, taking a hit, not being poisoned, stuff like that.
pain
Vigilance,
tolerance.
yeah, vigilance is going to be sensing hidden objects and doing investigations. Also against surprise, it says. And in this game, this is actually an important thing for everybody to know. It's a character's focus at each rank. Focus is a resource, a spendable resource in this game. You can use focus to, I know there's big for the shooter, for the gun guy. Focus, you can be like, I'm going to spend 5 focus to make this do, an extra target, stuff like that.
So
Or
it's
like
your-
that headshot ability. If you hit the guy at all, then he's stunned for a round.
Yeah.
That's
so
pretty powerful.
the focus points are mana points. It
Okay,
seems like,
right.
for lack of a better term, it's your mana, and it's increased by your willpower. And psychic damage can actually make you lose some focus.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Empire Right says they're not just spendable resource, but also mental hit points, and that is also true.
Mhm.
Because once you're out, man, your guard's down. Your mind is open. Ego is for intimidating, persuading, and using psychic powers. So
It's also a
Definitely
living planet.
it is.
Yes, it is also a living planet.
It bangs Star-Lord's mom.
Well, only in the MCU.
Only in the
comics,
MCU.
they're not
Only in the
related.
MCU. Yeah.
I got the original comic he appeared in from 1967.
Yeah, when they made him
Oh
a
my
planet in the MCU, I was like, I was taken aback. I was like, that's not what that is. But it's all good.
I like the version they did though; it was very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was Kurt Russell. What do you want?
I'm telling you, man. Did you know that man was also almost Han Solo?
I'd believe it.
Oh, there's a whole story. I'll tell you about it later, though. Not now. Anyway,
Kurt Russell would have been a pretty good Han Solo. Look,
Oh.
Harrison Ford killed it and was great, and it was the best they could have ever picked. But if Harrison Ford didn't exist and they picked Kurt Russell, that would have been just fine.
No, I'll just go ahead and tell you the story then. No, actually, he had the part, and in fact, there's footage you can find on the internet of where other actors were reading for their roles, and Kurt Russell was Han Solo reading across from them because he already had the role. He had to leave because they took too long to begin filming, and he had other commitments that he could not break. So he had to leave the project because they took too long to start. But he literally would have been, had they started shooting on time and shot on time, he would have been Han Solo.
It's crazy.
But yeah,
I'm not even mad at that.
I've seen some pretty cool test roll footage with him, like acting with who played Luke again? Mark Hamill.
Mark
Yeah.
Hamill.
But yeah, he'd have been amazing because he said
There's a multiverse out there somewhere with that.
Yeah,
movie
I'd love to
exists.
see that version of Star Wars. I thought that before.
See,
too.
that's one of the things in Rick and Morty I super agree with. Like, if there's a multiverse, I just want to watch TV. Like
all those movies.
I just want to watch all their TV.
Same here. Exactly.
That's it. That's all I want.
Yeah,
but-
that means there's a multiverse where you're like the main character. I would watch every version of the Avengers where I was each one of the different characters just to see how bad I bombed. I would think that was fucking hilarious.
Wow. Oh man. Okay, that took us sideways. Okay, where
it
were
happens.
we?
Logic.
Logic.
Anyways,
solving
Kurt
puzzles.
Russell's gonna read this next part.
Logic. Action checks. I don't know what he sounds like. Like living, inventing gadgets, solving puzzles, and using complex weapons. Logic defense helps against being confused, befuddled, or tricked. The damage dealt by complex weapons and some powers is based on logic. And then there's ability checks. So a character's ability score is added to any action checks made. We talked about action checks earlier. These 616, you're going to be adding, in some cases, really, really big ability check numbers. I believe Thor's might bonus is 21.
But he's a rank 20 character.
But he's a rank 20 character. He's almost as strong as it gets in the playtest. So it works. Thor should be able to do that thing.
So his average result is like a 32 or better.
Yeah. A character also has ability modifiers based on their archetype, and those modifiers increase with rank. So your archetype's also going to increase your modifiers beyond what your abilities do. Ability defense are also based on character's archetype, and they increase with rank 2. Add the character's ability score to that base score to come up with the final number. Some powers can also modify a character's defenses. The ability defense score is the target number an attacker rolls against when the character uses the ability as their defense. If the Human Torch tries to hit Spider-Man with a fireball, the Torch makes an agility attack. Spider-Man defends with his agility, so the Torch's attack roll must meet or beat Spider-Man's agility defense. So that sounds a lot more complicated than it is. You're attacking one stat with, it seems, the same stat, but I don't know if that's always going to be the case.
Right. Sounds to me like instead of just having one armor class, you've got a different armor class for every attribute.
Yes.
And that basically means that every character has strengths and weaknesses.
Yes, exactly.
Like a bruiser character can be hit with mental attacks and be hit very easily.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Yep.
That means that no one is like unbeatable. Health.
Yep.
A character's health, you know what health is. It can be temporary or lowered by physical damage. Health is determined by a character's archetype and rank. In addition, multiply the character's resilience ability score by their rank and add that to their health. That can be pretty
like
big.
Constitution modifier in D&D.
Yeah.
So this is another thing that like slapped me in the face with 4th edition, was that there's health, focus, and karma.
Yeah.
And that each one of them are like the different defenses that you have to defend against an attack. So it's exactly like 4th edition where you had the 4 different defenses. You had your willpower, your AC, and whatever the hell the third one
Reflexes, will, and...
Reflex, will, and fortitude, yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. So again, this has that 4th edition stink to it.
And it did exactly what Rune was saying. It made it so that, hey, I'm a paladin. Please don't, make me dodge.
Well, one thing that 4th edition did, though, was made it so that each of those defenses was based on Well, except for armor class, the other 3 defenses, your saving throws, were based on 2 different stats.
Yes.
So if even one of those 2 stats was high, you got the better of the number for your saving throw value.
Yeah.
Whereas this game, I'm not sure how they do it. It sounds like every stat's a separate defense.
But
it
so
may just
every
be
stat
something
is a
that-
separate defense.
I don't know.
But then you also have so you're trying to get through those defenses to get at these numbers, which are health, focus, and karma. Focus is going to be your mental wherewithal, I guess. It can be temporarily lowered by psychic damage and or the use of certain powers. So using powers can also spend focus. It's determined by a character's archetype and rank. In addition, multiply the character's vigilance score by their attack and add that to their focus.
And your karma is like inspiration. You can use it to give bad guys disadvantage, or what do they call it in this game?
Trouble.
Trouble, that's right.
Edges
You can
of
only, and you can't spend more than 1 karma ever. Karma represents a wild mix of grit and luck and destiny that seems to intervene in the lives of all heroes and villains. Major characters, including all player characters, have karma equal to half their rank, rounded up. After a character makes an action check, they can spend a point of karma to gain an edge. When an enemy makes an action check, the character can spend a point of karma to give them trouble. And that's karma. It works much like...
Go ahead.
I was going to say it works much like inspiration. The player does a good job role-playing. The game master can give it to them. If the character rescued someone, if they went out of their way to help, if they made an inspiring speech, if they shouted their appropriate catchphrase at the right moment.
It's clobbering time.
Exactly. You
My
know, those
favorite.
kinds of things where everyone at the table cheers and they're like, yes, give them the thing.
Yeah.
A character can have more karma than their starting number, but if they fail to spend it before their karma resets, they lose the excess.
Right. And it resets at its standard number each time they get a decent night's sleep. So not each game session, each night's sleep. So that's not bad. So
That's not
long
bad.
rest.
It's not bad at all.
Long rest resource. Yeah.
I like long rest resource. I kind of miss it in certain games. Vampire Bite says karma is like bennies, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss bennies. Initiative modifier characters. Initiative modifier. You guys know what initiative is. It's when you go in combat. It is the greater of agility or vigilance, which I absolutely agree with.
It's not just agility, vigilance as well. Very good.
Yeah.
Vigilance is basically wisdom/perception.
Yeah.
So perfect.
You go fast because you were aware and ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were paying attention. I like that.
Or your physical reflexes are just that damn good, like Spider-Man. Although with his spider sense, you could probably argue it either way with him.
Yeah.
That's all right. Quicksilver would be based on speed, right?
Speaking of
Right.
Quicksilver, he's on.
Oh, look at that.
Well, that might not even be him.
I
Wait,
think that is
what page are y'all looking at? So I'll know what to look at. Oh yeah,
18.
that's definitely him.
Yeah, it looks like him.
Right above damage.
It's a weird symbol
Quicksilver.
on his chest, though.
It's not one of his most popular costumes, but that's Quicksilver. I think that's the costume he wore after he got weird inhuman powers, after his mutant powers were gone. He got affected by Terrigen Mist or something.
Yeah.
Rune, who is he beating the crap out of there? Is that Roman Reigns from the WWE?
That's what it looks like.
Actually, it probably is Count Nefaria. That's probably Count Nefaria. That's who I would guess. In
I like
which
your
case, Count
guess.
Nefaria just lost all his powers, or Quicksilver would be toast. Count Nefaria once beat up all the classic Avengers by himself. Thor, Cap, Vision, Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, the works.
Yeah,
and I
that
just
was-
mean
That was
beat
back
them
when
into the ground like Superman would. It was brutal.
Marvel villains were allowed to do hard drugs, though.
Yeah, that I want to say it was like 1981, so it was a pretty old issue. But yeah,
So speed. A character's speed determines how fast they can move with a particular mode of movement. By default, all characters run, swim, and climb. I feel like some people don't have to
25
swim, but that's okay.
per round.
So it's 25 feet per round. This can be modified by a character's agility and size. Add a character's agility score to their running speed. For example, a character with agility 4 adds that to their base speed, making it 29. For every step of size a character is away from average, add or subtract 5 feet from their run speed. So if you're big, you get 30. So yeah, that's pretty simple.
Seems to me like they're basically just going to set it up so that everybody's total movement's going to be divided by 5 onto a 5x5 grid like 5e is anyway.
Yeah, mostly.
I mean, obviously. It just means that characters with superhuman agility will get an extra 5 or 10, 15 feet here and there.
Yeah,
added on,
with
just
the
high
built-in Roll20 deal that they have, obviously they want this on VTT. So
Sure.
yeah. Damage is represented by XD6, which means roll X dice and add their results together to get total. Sometimes you add a damage modifier too.
I'm going to save you from reading a whole bunch of hubba jubba, Jahan. You don't have to read that. That just literally tells you the formats of X, D6 plus Y.
Yeah.
So that's 3 paragraphs that explain how to roll D6 plus. The next
We
one
all
is
already know
fight
this,
damage. Fight damage is flat damage that's added to your fight attacks. It's based on your might plus X. That X is going to be in your character's archetype. It's just the flat damage bonus you get with your fight attacks. Ranged damage is the same thing. It's just going to be a flat number added onto your archetype. This one is going to be based on agility, though, instead of might, which is not surprising, I don't think, to anyone.
Yeah.
Sure.
But those are how damages work, and there's a lot of paragraphs to explain that pretty basic concept. Your archetype will tell you. In short, your archetype will give you your big flat plus bonuses in this game. Other than that, you're only rolling 3d6.
Yeah, it's fair.
I assume if you want a character that's going to like cover multiple bases, you just play like a polymath or a protector who probably gets, instead of a big bonus to one and no bonus to the other, they probably get a medium bonus to both ranged and melee, for example.
I think that's exactly right. Polymath is sort of the catch-all, do-all, and you're probably exactly right.
Then they talk about power sets and powers, which I guess is important because power sets and powers are different. Powers are special abilities like flight, super strength, or telepathy that are beyond the capabilities of ordinary people. A character's rank determines how many powers they have. Powers are organized into collections of closely related abilities known as power sets. In addition, some powers known as utility powers are available to all characters, which I also really like from reading further on.
Sure. Well,
That
flight's
was
a pretty
stuff.
independent power.
That's what I was going to say. That's stuff like flight and tunneling, right? There's some of that
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Lots of travel powers would be there.
Yeah.
Like, how does your character get around? It's a utility power he picked up. It may be his whole shtick. I don't know. But like Nightcrawler gets a lot of mileage out of teleport. That's his whole shtick. But other than that, he's probably a striker.
yeah, that's right. Teleport with a sword.
After that, it's backstory, which is going to have your origin and your profession. Origin is where you got powers. Profession is your day job. Traits include talent, skills, circumstances, minor superpowers, vulnerabilities, and other traits that affect a character's capabilities. Most of these are positive things, but some are negative, while others are a bit more complicated. They have to do with backstory and stuff. We'll get more into that soon.
Yeah, because the origin and the profession are actually both baked into your character. They provide abilities and things like that.
Yes, and it's really cool. I really appreciate how they do it. It's very... that definitely, if you're familiar with D&D, it's a lot like that. They also have your profession in there, and it gives you a whole bunch of things that really help form your character.
Harken back to, does this book read like, does it feel like a superhero game? Yes, it does. There's your origin, there's your profession. So you've got all your things, your archetype, your origin, your profession. I feel like a superhero after I pick these things.
Yeah.
I kind of like that the soldier profession is both Captain America and Wolverine.
Yeah, me too.
It's just their profession. They've got other traits that are different from those two.
But
their
this one is
profession-
mine.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
It's funny.
That's like the rifle soldier would say. I get it.
Sequence of play. Here's the order of events in combat. You determine positions, roll initiative, start a new round. Each character takes their turn. If the combatants are still able to fight, you go back to step 3. Otherwise, combat ends. And so, we're not necessarily going to get into the minutia of combat. Everything that we've talked about so far is going to happen. You're going to roll at each other until somebody stops moving. And, that's that. Well, you'll get a better idea of what that's going to look like with superpowers when we get to the powers.
Wow, 5 seconds. They're really bucking the trend instead of 6 for 5e.
Yeah, right.
5 seconds per combat round.
Yeah, I've noticed a bunch of little, like, slightly off the standard, which is fine. It doesn't affect anything.
You know what I found really amusing that though is that the average movement rank balances out to what 5e has. In 5e, you get 6-second combat rounds, and average character has 30 feet of movement. In Marvel, it's 5-second combat rounds,
It's 25, yeah.
So you have the same average amount of movement on a normal character.
Yeah, no, it's funny. There's definitely a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, that's an amusing observation. But yeah, so there's also attack modifiers and damage modifiers for size. So if you're average and you're punching someone who is small, you get -2 to attack them, but +2 to hurt them because they're harder to hit, but they're easier to hurt. Which
in a 3d6 system though, that +2 is significant.
Yeah,
like that's like a +4 or 5 in 5e.
Yeah,
on 3d6 because it's bell curve pulls directly into the middle. So +2 is pretty significant.
Yeah, size is pretty. They do a lot of size stuff, I've noticed, which is good in a game where you can have Ant-Man.
Yeah.
you definitely need these rules to be at the forefront.
That's one of the reasons I think I was so interested in building a character that's bigger, was because I kept reading through this and seeing different size rules, and I really wanted to play with those and see what they did. But the playtest doesn't actually have any ability to modify size characters, I don't think. Or, no, you can modify by like 1 size or 2, but you can't really play with this table.
Yeah. Not as much as you want to in the beginning, for sure. But I'm sure they're going to have, like, the PIM section in the main book, and it's all going to be there.
I wanted to be a guy who worked on, who was Tony Stark's rival? The other arms dealer? Hammer. I wanted to be a guy who worked with like Hammer Industries and was one of like the top weapons dealers, and just kind of, faded into obscurity after Hammer went down, and am trying to get my life on the right track now. So I wanted to have a big, knockoff Hammer mech that gets big and is awesome.
That's a good character.
Thanks. Yeah, I thought that'd be a cool origin.
I like it. No, it's really ingrained into the lore. I enjoy it. So initiative, we already know. Bonus rounds are a thing. You can get a bonus round if you do really well on your initiative. Taking turns, man, this stuff, not reading in every book, man. We know. But yeah, you can delay turns. That's standard. Reserve actions, standard.
I was going to say, on the round chart, though, you only roll initiative once, and then each round it rolls back to step 3. So you only get that bonus round at the very first round.
Yes, only the first time.
Initiative order over and over and over.
Yeah.
Until the battle's over. So it is like 5e in that result as well. So technically, getting that bonus round is for like getting a surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise round. And then they have easy actions, which are just stuff that you could kind of do, which is, I like that they say it. Because people always ask, can I say something in combat? Yes, you can. You could talk a little bit. You can't give a dissertation, but you can be like
5 seconds, man.
You'd be like, hey, look over there. That guy's weakness is obviously his.
Yeah.
And then when it comes back around, you can do the rest of it. No, I'm just kidding. You could probably say the whole thing.
You can probably say it's clobbering time.
Mm-hmm.
And then standard actions.
You might even be able to say it's clobbering time twice.
Standard actions are activate, maintain, and certain powers, aid, attack, dodge, escape, grab an enemy, interact with something, pick up something, prepare, or throw something. Pretty standard, pretty normal for TTRPGs. Once again, we need to do a general talk about RPGs, so you can just go watch that video. We don't have to repeat the stuff every time, because I feel like I'm excluding people when I skip it, but I don't want to read this for the millionth time.
It takes 3 turns to grab somebody, pick them up, and throw them.
Unless you have a power that allows you to grab somebody while you attack them. I saw one of those in the power list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was around it.
I was like, boy, that's a lot of action economy to throw somebody. 3 standard actions.
I want to powerbomb somebody through...
Well, no, here's the thing. You can grab an ally as an easy action, though.
So,
you can
yeah,
grab
that's
an ally
right.
as an easy action and then throw him as your primary action.
Oh man, one of the I believe generic abilities is fastball special, and
Mhm.
if your ally throws you, you get like super advantage to attack something.
Sweet.
It's pretty good. I remember reading that. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, reactions. There is interpose, skulk, blah blah blah. They have all that stuff just like every other game. Types of
Interpose
movement.
and Skulk are exact opposite abilities. Interpose is I get in the way and take the hit from my ally, and Skulk is I get behind my protector and he can take the hit from me.
Which I'm glad you can do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's types of movement: flying, gliding, swing lining, which is what Spider-Man does, teleporting, sneaking, towing. Yeah, those are them.
Towing is like Nautilus in League of Legends, where you throw somebody, or you can like hit somebody with an anchor or a hook and then pull them back to you. Towing is like the get over here, the scorpion, if you will.
The obligatory fall damage, dealing damage.
You reminded me of my favorite Yamama joke, Casualty.
Oh no, hit me with
Are
it.
you ready for this?
So ready.
Yamama. Let me make sure I get it right. Yamama's so ugly, Scorpion told her to stay over there.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
All right, I'm done. That was so bad.
Objects. Yeah, man, they really get into this stuff, man. There's a lot of tables about. See, it gets really it gets to the point of crunch that I do not need. But
See, I actually like some crunch.
I do too.
If the crunch actually adds to the gameplay experience and isn't too confusing. But there's definitely a point at which any game can just have crunch for the sake of crunch, and it doesn't make the game better.
In this specific instance,
I'm concerned how this game's going to work out.
Yeah,
we'll have to play it sometime.
In this specific instance, all the tables seem pretty similar, and I think they could have been replaced with a icon style benchmark table.
Right, or Mutants and Masterminds benchmark.
Yeah,
table,
just a single table
something
that illustrates all.
easier
of it.
to consult.
So.
Right. Yeah.
So here, reading these different rules, they're all broken down into damage types and subtypes, and of course, there are damage resistances on the opposite page. So I can take less damage from acid or less from bashing, but there are literally acid, bashing, cold, energy, heat, force. There's like 11 different types of damages, but they don't do anything other than damage.
Yeah,
like
it's Pokemon.
If you do 20 freeze damage to somebody, they don't get slowed, they don't freeze. Acid doesn't destroy their armor. It just says that it melts the target, but it's all for flavor.
Right.
If you're going to put in this many different damage types and subtypes, I would
more than flavor. Right.
Yeah, put it in for a reason. I would say put some rules in to reflect that.
Have you seen,
Maybe
the falling damage thing yet?
It's a play test. It is a play test.
Right.
I'm sorry, Rune. What did you say?
Did you see the falling damage paragraph?
I breezed past
This is
it.
interesting. I'll just read it to you.
Go ahead.
If a character hits something when they land, they and whatever they hit suffer 1d6 bashing damage for every 10 feet they fell, but only for the first 30 feet. After that, you add 5 for every 15 feet after that to a maximum of 150. So in other words, you only roll the first 3d6. After that, it's plus 5 more damage for every 15 they fall. So if you fall 150 feet, that's like plus 50 plus 3d6. So pretty solid damage from falling. There's none of this, I might
And
roll well.
If you do damage to the thing that you fall on and it gets destroyed, then you smash through it and keep falling.
Yes,
correct.
Which I
do
think
remember that.
that's like a high level Incredible Hulk falls out of a plane type of thing, and he smashes through the first 4 floors of a building like that.
Well, I'm
that's
sure
how
those
you
same
gauge
rules
that.
apply when the thing smashes a guy through a wall and through the next wall and the wall behind that one too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Love it.
That's going through buildings. That's a Marvel thing. Very well said, Vampire Bites. Finally, we're on creating a character. Looks like they're showing off Ironheart, which, hell yeah. Can't wait for that show. And, yeah. So, here's what you're going to do. 7 simple steps. Determine character's rank. So that's the first thing we talked about. That's rank 1 through 25. 1 being, hey, I think I might have superpowers. And 25 being, I am a god of creation.
I assume this decision would not be made in a vacuum. Your game master will be making that decision.
No, this is definitely something to talk about in session 0. They definitely mention that it is okay for people to have varying power levels, but that is something you need to discuss. Blah, blah, blah.
I think that varying power levels is one of the most underrated fun things that people should be doing at a
Very
table.
much so, yeah.
I'd say only within a certain narrow range, not too far. Like, it's
when
no
you
fun to
watch
be playing
Star
Robin
Wars
with Superman in the game.
Like, Princess Leia is not the same level as Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine. Han Solo isn't the same level as Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine, because they're stuck shooting at stormtroopers while Jedi and Sith are having laser sword fights that one wrong move kills you forever. And I like that in episode 1 that you have to have these 2 Jedi go off to fight Darth Maul, and everyone else evacuates the palace. You don't stand a chance. You need to leave. I like that those kind of narrative moments. They make the team split up, and the strong guy has to go handle the strong problem. I like that.
Go ahead.
I like it too.
I'll go after you.
I like it too. I mean, just look at any Avengers movie. They all have very different levels. Yeah, Gandalf's Lord of the Rings is also a great example. They are very clearly tiered into about 3 to 4 separate groups. But yeah, the first Avengers movie is a great example. Black Widow and Hawkeye are obviously a lot lower on the power pole because Thor is noted as rank 20 in this game. And Tony, I believe, is 15. Like, they're very skewed on the power scale, but every single one of them was important. You send Thor to go bottleneck the portal, of course you do. You send Black Widow to figure out how to turn it off, because she's smart and she can figure stuff out. And then you have Hawkeye calling shots because he has a high vigilance.
You have the guy who can fly real fast, bait the giant monster, and then you have the real strong guy punch the monster in the face.
Yep.
Those tiered heroes.
I also like it too, but only at a playable table. I think it works better with a narrower band than something as far as one guy 5 and one guy 20, because a role-playing game is not the same media as a TV show or a movie, and all the players need to feel like they can contribute in their own way. And if one player wants to play somebody significantly weaker because that's his character concept and he's cool with it, straight up, then that's cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise, as a game master, I would generally look to make sure that everybody's relatively balanced with one another, at least within 3 to 5 ranks.
As a game master, I would definitely not do that without everyone's approval. Because that can be really lame.
Recent Doctor Strange movie. I'm going to say this without spoiling anything, so no spoilers. In the most recent Doctor Strange movie, he's level 20, and his partner is level 1 on the power range. But the narrator lets that power get turned up real fast. So that person's power level catches up to about 10. Which
I thought it was more
that's
like
a cool
power
way to
level
do it
10,
too.
just uncontrollable.
If you're going to start with less power, I think it's cool for a narrator to catch you up in sort of a narrative way.
Sure.
Yeah,
because then we get to see the character growing storyline, and we don't need to see all 4 or 5 people doing it. Maybe just one person goes through the arc.
Yeah, if 2 of my characters are like, hey man, I want this player to be my protege, and that's what they want, yeah, that's cool. That's a good story.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah. I had one other thing to add. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer role-playing game.
I'm familiar with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but not the game.
Well, there was a role-playing game, and they also had an Angel role-playing game, and it was made by the same company that made All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and they used their house game rules for that. Modified, of course, like they made a bunch of different games with it. But that game actually featured a really nice set of mechanics for how regular mortal Scooby Gang characters operated with characters that were essentially minor superhumans, like a Slayer or a vampire would. And it actually worked out pretty well in that game. But it's definitely not something that every game can tackle well.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the Doctor Who system I've heard about, that they do it very well as well. Because Doctor Who, the Doctor is obviously like OP, and then
He just doesn't like do direct combat.
yeah, the way
He's
that
OP in other ways,
the way
right?
that people operate around them, they give him the ability to do what he does. Essentially, I don't know. It's very interesting, but yeah. So character creation, we're finally at it. Finally at the character creation, you determine character's rank. That's where we got off track. Create a character concept. So that's just you being like, I want a guy that, is a refrigerator. Boom. Character concept. Pick an archetype. You pick from that list of, I believe, 5 or 6 archetypes. Then you pick your Marvel scores, your ability scores. Pick your backstory elements, origin, profession, and traits. Then you're going to get your power sets and powers, and then you're going to calculate your total derived stat scores and all that kind of stuff. And then you're done.
Well, not really. That's the easy part.
Okay.
The hard part is picking your powers.
Yeah.
That's where this game becomes really time consuming.
Yes. So that's one of the benefits of picking lower level games. It can go a little quicker, but yeah. Let me see here. Where are they going to talk about?
Well,
it?
the nice thing though is that you only get so many sets. You can't just have everything.
Yes.
So your choices are still constrained, narrow. You pick something from the utility list if you want, and then you pick things from your power sets, and you're good to get rolling.
Man, they're just...
and of course, the higher rank you are, the more powers you get to pick. But it's probably not going to take that much longer with a higher rank character compared to a low rank character. Still not that many choices to make, I would think.
I was actually talking about Cubicle 7, Doctor Who TTRPG.
Cool.
That's the one I was familiar with. I forgot that Modifiers had one, but yeah. Sorry, I was getting called out.
Maybe Modifiers doesn't. It might be Cubicle 7. I might be the one who's wrong.
And Vampire Bite says there's 2, and I believe them. Yeah, here's backstory. They're just reiterating stuff at this point, which is annoying.
So this is one thing I've noticed about every single tabletop game, and I'm going to keep it in mind for when we make ours. You always write down everything twice, and the first time you write it down simple, and the second time you make it a giant slog pain in the ass to read through.
Yes.
So they already told us about backgrounds and traits and character defenses and your health and your focus, but here we are again, looking at everything again, and it's written down. And it takes up this entire page. It's all the stuff we've already read.
It's all the stuff we already read?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing to do in a playtest.
I'm going to break down the professions real quick, just go through them because we didn't talk about them. But they are criminal, healthcare worker, lawyer, journalist, investigator, outsider, ruler, scientist, soldier, spy, student, tycoon. Those are the professions. They give you a whole slew of abilities to go along with them. Traits. Talk about traits.
I'd like to hear about these.
Yeah, a character's rank determines how many additional traits they can choose, as shown on the extra trait table. Some traits are available to anyone, while others are restricted. Some traits' descriptions are kept purposefully vague, so the player can fill in the details. This is a great way to make an original character unique. Challenging traits. Not all traits are entirely beneficial. In fact, some of them can cause a character all sorts of problems. Anytime that happens, though, the narrator should give them a point of karma to make up for it. Whether or not a trait is challenging for a character often depends on the context. A secret identity, for instance, can help protect friends and family, but keeping something so important from those people can cause all kinds of headaches, blah, blah, blah. So the example they show is just immediately Hawkeye, who is deaf, trying to use a telephone. So, yeah, he can't do it.
This next little section is extra traits, which this is really cool. Narratively, you can gain and lose and change traits. The example it gives here is, for example, if a character with a secret identity is unmasked before the world, they should switch their secret identity trait to the public identity trait. And then it goes on to say that you can juggle those traits and change the story as well that way.
It also goes on to say that if you then don a new mask and identity, you can also keep the secret identity trait as that new character and the public identity trait.
Right, you can have both.
That's really funny.
What I found is my favorite trait to describe Wolverine with. Abrasive. The character rubs people the wrong way. This gives them trouble when trying to make friendly ego persuasion checks. In other words, he just pisses people off in general.
And
I've
that's
been told
Wolverine for you.
I've been told I have that sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think he's always got it, though.
some of them are pretty vague. Some of them are actually mechanical in nature. I do believe Berserker is one such. The character often loses control of temper. Anytime they take physical damage, they must make an ego check with a target number equal to the amount of damage done. If they fail, they go berserk and must charge at full speed into combat with the enemy who hurt them. Being berserk gives the character an edge on all fight attacks and +2 to their might, resilience, and ego defenses. However, -2 to their agility defenses, and they cannot use ranged weapons. If the character defeats the enemy who hurts them, they must charge to attack the next closest foe. At the end of the character's turn, they lose 5 focus. When their focus is reduced to less than 1, or if there are no enemies in sight, they berserk state ends. So
Wolverine's done that before too.
yeah, so Abrasive was just like, hey, you don't get along with people. And then Berserk had this whole slew of things attached to it mechanically. So these are all very different.
You know what's right after Berserk is blind. So you can either have this giant paragraph of how it adds to your skills, or you can be blind permanently. It's your choice, really.
Yeah. What page is that on in the book? Because I'm on the PDF and it's not
50. We're at 53-ish.
Yeah.
So it goes.
Go
It
ahead.
goes Berserker and then Black Market
Okay, I got
Access
it.
and then Blind.
I got it. Yeah, because in the on the compendium you have to click on them to read them.
Bloodthirsty.
no!
But there's Bloodthirsty, there's Clinical, Clueless, Combat Expert, Combat Finesse.
Some
a
of
lot
those are for
combat.
villains only, I feel.
Potentially.
Like Bloodthirsty.
There's things like Edict Memory, Headquarters.
Oh, memory. Nice.
Yeah, Eidetic Memory. Headquarters, Krakoan, which is X-Men. You know, you have access to the living continent of Krakoa, which is a really interesting turn.
That one, you actually can only take that trait if you take the mutant background. I remember reading that my first time through.
That makes
Wait,
sense.
What background?
Mutant.
Mutant.
No, what was the first trait?
Oh,
Krakoan?
Krakoan.
Oh, Krakoan. They
Yeah.
added a Krakoan trait. Okay.
Yeah, so
this game's extra crunchy. Okay.
yeah, so that means that you're an X-Men, you're a mutant, you have access to the Krakoan nation if you're playing in a world that has a Krakoa.
Right. Again, Game Master. Like, if I ran a Marvel game, I probably wouldn't go that far with my Marvel.
I don't know.
I'd run something a little more classic.
I would feel a little out of my depth because, like, I know stuff about it, but man, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% up on it either. It's a lot to know.
Here's some more stuff that I think really shouldn't be traits, personally. Loner. The character does not play well with others, and you can't be aided by an ally to give them an edge.
Oh,
like,
wow.
if you wanna play a loner, like, that's just roleplay a loner. Yeah, a loner trait that makes it where you can't help allies, that's not real conducive to the game.
You can't be helped by allies.
You can't be helped. Yeah, that's not conducive at all to...
Yeah, that's terrible.
See, the thing about it, though, is these traits
They have the trait I have, out of shape.
There you go. These traits are meant to be gained and lost, though. So, like...
Yes.
You could start as a loner and then be brought into the fold, blah, blah, blah. It can be good. I just feel like that wouldn't go right at the table.
So I could make myself as a rank 1 character with poor, out of shape, and...
Loner.
No, I would take loner. I'm not that bad.
You could do
let's see, what's the
short,
next negative?
that
I'm not
mute,
that short.
blind.
Definitely not mute or blind.
You could also be worshipped, X-Gene, that kind of stuff. Signature weapons. There's just a lot of cool traits you can slap on to evolve your character. But before we run out of time here, I want to jump over to powers. Cool picture on powers. That's my girl Magic right there. I know it is.
I love Magic.
Bro, Magic is everything that's ever... She embodies everything Marvel is, man. She's so cool.
I'm a huge fan.
I'm a huge fan of Magic. Which is why I'm excited for the Midnight Sun video game. But yeah. So, anyways.
Definitely also want to play that.
Before we get off topic again. When you create your own hero, your character's rank tells you how many power sets and powers you can pick. A 5th rank character has access to 5 powers from up to 2 different power sets. If a character doesn't use a power set, they can pick an extra power instead. For example, 5th rank character only picks powers from 1 power set instead of the 2 that they are allowed to. They get an extra power of 6 instead of 5. It's not as complicated as it might sound. It's pretty simple. So, like, higher level characters might have access to, like, 4 different sets. If you only take from 2, you're going to get 2 extra powers that you normally would not. For every set that you slash. And you always have access to generic. That does not count as one of them. So, yeah, this is just the start. This is them talking about how this book is not anywhere near complete. And they show Storm stopping a typhoon with twisters. Which is cool. Power sets. So power sets are... So here's the table that tells you how many of what you get. At rank 21, you get 3 power sets. You get 15 powers. So, let's see. I'm going to keep it in the ballpark. We're going to say power set level 5. Rank 5, so we'll do 2 power sets, 5 powers. It's pretty easy. Here... Yeah, what's up?
But... I flipped over to tough to see what the tough utility power was.
Yeah.
And I know I'm just like a step ahead. It's weird. It says that it's your character's focus is increased by your ego defense.
Yeah.
Huh.
What tough is. That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think it would go to your hit points.
You would, but also they're saying they're mentally tough, mental fortitude. Like you
it's
can
also
endure...
weird that it's your ego defense. It's not from your might or something tough. It's from your ego.
It is interesting.
That's weird.
I think they're referring to the disposition because they also have sturdy. So sturdy is more physical toughness, and then I think that when by tough they mean like, oh man, that's a tough kid. He's been through a lot, but he's still not afraid to love. You know, like I think that's the kind of tough they're talking about.
Oh.
But not afraid to love. They're hilarious.
Thank you. But yeah, so here are just the power sets of which you can choose from: battlesuit, blades, cybernetics, firearms, energy control, martial arts, plasticity, shield bearer, spider powers, super strength, tactical mastery, and weather control. Those are at level 5 you're going to get a pick from 2 of those, but you can stick to 1 to get a bonus power.
This is something I thought was really cool about this system. I'm not going to lie. They have skill trees.
Yes.
In like a video game, role-playing game type of way, you can look at how all your powers unfold on your skill trees and what you have to have first to make them happen. There's a skill tree for every single class and what powers you can take and how you can go down your skill tree.
Yes.
And then when you're higher level, you can start, working on 2 different classes, 2 different skill trees, power sets, things like that. I thought this was a really cool visual.
Vampire plates, battlesuit, and cybernetics are roughly 90% identical. And that might be true because, so each power set, some of them do have the same powers in them. They do carry over in that way. So this reminds me of a less crunchy Exalted almost, because that you have trees as well.
I'd say more crunchy so far.
You think so?
Yeah.
They have trees too, but if I remember correctly, they feed into each other as well. So you can, if you go high enough in one tree, it can lead into a different one. This one doesn't seem to be able to do that yet, but yeah. It's definitely interesting. Utility powers as well.
It's funny that Vampire Bites said that about Battlesuit and Cybernetics because, as I told you guys, I was trying to build a character who gets bigger. So I had gone with Battlesuit and Cybernetics as my power suite. And as I was looking back over it, I was like, well, this is stupid. I don't really need Battlesuit. I'll just take Cybernetics because...
Yeah, you only need one of them, probably.
They're the same. And that's... I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
See, you do Cybernetics or Battlesuit, and then whenever they release the Pym particle, you could dip into that.
So, out of curiosity, how many powers do you get to pick when you're a rank 10 character?
Rank 10 character gets 3 power sets and 10 powers.
Okay, so it's basically 1 power per rank, and then a number of sets somewhat less than that, but also based on rank. Got it.
1 through 4 is 1 power set. 5 through 7 is 2, and then everything else is 3 power sets.
Got it.
Which is interesting that it caps at 3.
Well, I assume a polymath character probably has something special going.
Yeah, there might be ways to do it like that.
Even more branching, right?
Yeah. You might be right there. But yeah, so those are the power sets. Within those, there are trees. Oh, Vampire Bite says, nope. That is not the case. Yeah, Vampire Bites has really dived into this.
I can tell.
And they have feelings about
Yeah, they have critiques.
They have critiques.
Similar to me, but mine are all still questions more than they are.
But there
comments,
is a
'cause I've
trait
learned enough.
that lets you pick a power outside your set. Interesting. It's kind of cool. And then also there's utility powers everyone can pick from, additional limbs, and that can be anything that's prehensile. So you could have an elephant trunk or a tail as well that counts, and you can use it just like
Or
you would.
something a little more exciting.
For
your career.
He is referencing a prehensile penis.
Yes.
So watch out. Camouflage, environmental protection, fastball special, flight is here, healing factor is here, heightened senses are here, inspiration, ram, sturdy, thermal vision, tough, and wisecracker. Those are all here.
This is another one of my initial complaints, that this entire game is spells. We're back to it here. Clobber. You have the super strength power. If you want to punch somebody, you have to use the clobber power. You don't tell the game master, I'm going to hit him. You say, I will use the clobber power. And then you make a fight attack against the enemy. If the attack's a success, they take bashing damage. If it's a fantastic success, they take double damage and are knocked prone. All of that, to me, takes me so far out of the game and out of the tabletop narrative of playing my character. Right. Because I have to stop and look at this book and read you what the book says that my thing does, instead of just me telling you I'm going to hit him as hard as I can.
Well, I assume you would have.
I really don't like this type of power thing.
Right. Well, it's like anti-stunts. It's like the exact opposite. It's super crunchy and it's already detailed out ahead for you. And I would assume you basically just fill out your character concept and fill out your character sheet ahead of time. And then when you're at the table, you use your clobber power. But yeah, it definitely feels like it takes away from creativity at the table.
It can for sure. I actually like it. I'm not sure why. I like that you're like, I'm under clobber. That's enjoyable to me. I like it. I'm going to use crushing grip. I don't know, you're calling out your powers, like a anime character or a pro wrestler. And it can be fun, but I also get what you're saying. So yeah, that's the powers. We kind of went through that a little bit. We're not... There's too much to get into on that.
Group flight, healing factor, heightened senses, holographic illusions, inspirations, jump levels 1 through 3, leg sweep. They've got all sorts of stuff. Leg sweep is literally a power.
There's actually a straight up power list that lists all of them in order, alphabetically.
Great.
There's armors 1 through 4, so that's actually what bothers me a little bit, is like the levels of same power. You know what I mean?
This is extremely... remember how you mentioned you thought it would take someone 3 full actions to pick up an opponent and then throw them away?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I found a power called Spin and Throw, which requires... It's in the martial arts set, and it requires
Makes sense.
Grappling technique and rank 5 is a prerequisite, but its action is a reaction. The trigger is if the character grabs or is grabbing an enemy that they can pick up, but its duration is instant. So it means now that if you have all the right abilities, you can fast action pick up somebody, or an ally anyway, and then dash them to the ground as a reaction and still have your regular action left.
Which is cool.
Now, granted, you can do that to an enemy, but it does look like it is possible to use your main action to attack somebody, get a grab at the same time, and then throw them down as a reaction.
It's a quick toss power on page 83, and that's a super strength based one instead of fighting.
Mhm.
And the quick toss one is kind of the same way. Your trigger is that you grab or begin a turn with somebody grabbed, and then you get to give them the chunk.
Yep.
So that's
So
exactly how you do that.
yeah, basically, if you don't have those specific powers, then it would take you a long time. But if you do have
Yeah.
these powers, you just do it very quickly. It's like you're
Vampire Bites
specialized.
brings up a good point. You can do descriptive leg sweep without doing a power leg sweep. So you can be as descriptive as you want, but it's just not the same. But it's the same as I hit them unless you use a power, which I do, which does make sense. It is. I mean, it's the same way in
Well,
Age.
for example, you
You
can get a
know.
great result. Like if you get the
Yeah.
Marvel die, then you could also say, "Well, I sweep him off his feet" as your extra result.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely, definitely.
But
But
if you
yeah,
have the power, you can do it automatically. Got it.
yeah, powers are almost like stunts you can just choose to activate.
You just have them,
You
right?
just have them. Which I see. I'm fine with the way these powers are set up. It doesn't actually bother me. The level of powers kind of annoys me, but that's also not a deal breaker. I just feel like they take up too much space in the tree. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of crunch here that's unnecessary.
It does. It does.
But
But
it might work out a lot better in play though. Like I'd really have to try it to know for sure.
I actually think this game would play pretty good. I think it would play pretty well. I think it would be
So
once you got into it.
I do agree there. I think that this game, that the system is realized, and that Matt Forbeck knows what he's doing, and that this will be a playable game in the end. I also think that I know that he threw game balance out the window over his shoulder, which is totally fine because it's a superheroes game and you almost have to. But when you see things like Berserker that gives you all these powers right next to blind, you know that character balance has been chunked.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in this book that I'm just kind of like, why is that there? This is kind of just role playing. This sort of what role playing is doing these things, and instead they give you a sentence and a description on exactly what you're role playing or what you need to role play. I don't know. It almost feels like there's too much,
Too much hand-holding.
and not a lot of it is forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always preach like versatility. Like you guys are right. They are very specific abilities. They do kind of force you down a particular, doing this specific thing this specific way as opposed to being creative. But
Also, if you're a super strength guy, you're going to do the things that they say you're going to do.
yeah,
And
exactly.
in Icons, we didn't have to pick a thing like that. I didn't have to pick Bruiser or pick a power suite and be stuck to it. I could
just
be a
origin.
teleporting. Yeah, I could just be whatever I want. This game really shoehorns you into, oh, you're in a power suit. Well, then you're the power suit guy, and here are your power suit abilities.
Yeah.
Here's the
but-
archetype powers available to you.
But here is the argument against that. So, like, you could be a battlesuit guy, right? But you could secondary web slinger, right? And you could be Penny Parker, essentially. You know what I mean? Like,
So you can substitute out one power set for another? Or
no, you can pick
use an
multiple
unusual
power
set
sets
from power?
as a base.
Okay.
So if you do want that kind of spice thrown in, you just forego the bonus power you get from getting rid of it.
Got it.
You are still shoehorned a bit. You know what I mean? You definitely do not have the lateral movement of power picking that you do in other systems. I feel
It's got a baked in multi-classing layer to it.
Yeah.
That in other systems that I skew towards other systems that are more amorphous.
Right. It's not even
that you
necessary
can-
because there's no constraint in the first place, right?
Correct. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
No, I get that. I see the constraints, while they're not something I would choose if I was making a game necessarily, to a certain extent, I don't mind them when I'm playing or running. You know what I mean?
Right.
They do not bother me. I actually sometimes enjoy. I feel like it takes a different creativity to move about the confines. You know what I mean?
Well,
You're right.
And that's just I always find that breeds innovation almost. You know what I mean? Like it makes you do something you might not have wanted to do, but it winds up being super cool.
I
Right.
sort of feel like the reason these constraints are in place, at least for the playtest and possibly for the final game, is because Matt Mr. Forbeck is attempting to create a game where the characters that you make come out feeling like Marvel heroes, like existing
Yeah.
Marvel heroes. Like even if you don't play an existing Marvel hero, the hero that you get comes out somewhat like them, so he fits into, so they feel like they fit in the setting, like they belong in the setting.
You
and
may
maybe that's what
very
he's
well
going
be right.
for.
Yeah.
That may be what
And-
he's going for. Whereas I would say, as an experienced superhero game master for 30, 40 years, that that's the sort of decision that you leave to a game master to make
Yes.
for his table, as opposed to make it at the gameplay level.
So
You know, at the rules level.
I'm going to think. See, I imagine the way it's set up in the playtest. Like, I feel like they're going to add things like, you know, pick your powers however you like, optional rules and that kind of thing. Because, like, honestly, there's nothing mechanically stopping anyone from picking freely through the power sets, you know what I mean? Like, nothing actually except for the fact it's like you can only pick. But, like, honestly, I feel like it would work just fine if you just willy-nilly'd it.
The higher level that you would get, the more trash flat bonuses you would have for those powers, though. Because the powers are built specifically for your class and to use the things that you get better at as you level. If you look at like the power ranks of the different archetypes,
Yeah.
like you get way bigger flat numbers as a bruiser for might than a shooting guy will ever get.
Yeah.
And
Right,
so if you were
So
a
you
shooting
could-
guy
you
and you
could
tried to
hamstring
take
yourself.
clobber, yeah, it would your clobber would be awful if you were a high level blaster compared to a medium level striker.
Right. Like if you just freeformed it, you could hamstring your character because you'd get
Correct.
powers that would mismatch your rank.
That's fair.
That's exactly
Because
right.
they don't really give you a way to compensate that. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But,
you know-
These are all nitpicky things. I'd like to reiterate. I think this game's totally playable. I almost wish, Jahan, that we had our list of things that we like rank whenever we rank systems, because the art in this book and the descriptions in this book, the things that keep it so true to being a superhero book, I think are just out. They scored outrageously high on that list.
Yeah,
You know,
the
it's
art looks
5 out of
great.
5 for flavor. It's 5 out of 5 for art.
I
Not
have
a
a
question in
question.
my mind.
yeah.
Like
Go ahead,
obviously, I don't have the book, but y'all do. Is there a place in the book where they have credits listed for the art? Because if
Yeah,
they do not,
definitely.
then that's a strike against them.
No, of course they do.
But they're, somewhere in the index or in the back of the book, front of the book, somewhere there should be a complete list of all the artists who provided.
There's
the art.
cover artists and the variant cover artists.
Yes.
But yeah, leaving the artist's name out of it feels like a sort of like a dick move to me, since the art is such a great part of the presentation of the book. But you
Yeah,
know,
the art's
again,
a selling
playtest book,
point.
maybe the final book will have it, and this playtest book doesn't. Maybe the final
Might
book
be in the
will
back.
have all that examples. But yeah, if the final book doesn't have credit for all the artists, then that's a huge mistake, I feel. Because those artists provided a lot
Yeah.
of amazing.
Also, they're
comic
pulling a lot of their art from existing comic books.
Exactly.
So and I definitely feel like those probably aren't all credited. But now that I'm looking at almost every picture I've seen actually has like the artist signature on it somewhere.
Good.
So they do credit them to that extent for sure.
Good.
But yeah, no, so that's Marvel Multiverse. Yeah, I can't remember everything we usually do critique. I got system, I got theme. I can't think of
Art.
Is art different than
There were-
theme?
Yeah, there were definitely 5.
Yeah, there were definitely 5.
There were whatever.
It's okay. Well, I mean, we probably shouldn't rank this playtest anyways with our
Sure.
typical.
It's not complete.
I definitely say that this is a like this hovers around a 4 for me anyways out of 5. This is cool. It's definitely thematic. It definitely feels like Marvel. I haven't really gotten to get into like an official comic universe TTRPG very much. I played lots of generic systems for superheroes. And so this was cool to check out. I played a homebrew Marvel game once upon a time, and that was super dope to like have your mentor be Daredevil, or you know what I mean, like have your rival be the Punisher. It's cool to see those things happen in a TTRPG, and I would be excited to run something like that. So, what'd you guys think?
I think I would give it a 7 or 8 out of 10, so also probably 4 out of 5. I think It's beautiful, first of all. All the art is a selling point, and it always will be for me. The art is really cool. If it didn't have all this art, I'm not sure. Maybe I would take it down by like 30%. Great art. It definitely fits the theme of a Marvel game. Every time I look at it, I think Marvel. It reeks of Marvel. It looks, it smells, it tastes like Marvel. The only thing I do not like is the powers. I just don't like the way that the powers look on paper. You guys keep saying maybe when we play it'll be different. Maybe, but I don't want to be flipping through a spell book when I play a punch guy. I don't want to be a punch wizard. And the system, it makes everybody a caster. That's just not my favorite. Other than that, that's my only real complaint about the system.
Yeah.
So you'd say too much 4E for your taste?
It's got a little too much 4E for my taste. I think that the flat numbers as you level up are really weird. You're only ever rolling 3d6, but then all of a sudden you're adding like 20 and 25 to it, and it just feels like I'm rolling these measly little die for nothing.
I'm glad you segued into that,
Sure.
because that was going to be my concern. Like, coming up on my critique from what I've seen so far, the art is gorgeous. I'm going to obviously withhold final judgment until the full game is released and I get a chance to actually play it. But from what I read, it looks to me like there's concern for me from how the math works with rolling dice and adding modifiers and dealing damage and attack rolls and defense rolls. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well balanced it is. And from what I can tell, it doesn't look particularly well balanced. And on a bell curve, which pulls everything into the middle, those flat bonuses are huge. Even a +2 is significant. A +4, you can forget it. If you've got like a -4 to hit your opponent, you need to roll a 15 or higher on 3d6.
Yeah.
If it was 50-50 chance before, now it's like you got like a 10% chance to hit. Like, that's how big a +4 modifier is.
Yeah.
On a bell curve. It's huge.
The bonus
So my
numbers definitely
concern
concern me.
is that the math does not work. And the only way I would know if it does or not is to actually see the completed game and play it out with equal power rank characters in a little test combat or whatever and see how it works.
Yeah.
But my concern is that the dice need to be adjusted. The gimmick sounds cool, but I'm not sure that it would work and be playable. So that's where my main concern lies.
Yeah.
But the art is gorgeous. The presentation is gorgeous. I'd also give it a negative mark for repeating information multiple times. No game master needs that. But again, playtest book, and they're probably concerned with probably a significant number of people purchasing the playtest book who may have never played a role-playing game before, like they're just Marvel fans.
Yeah.
So that may be why they went with that route with the writing. But I'd say my rating so far is a 3 out of 5. Primarily because of my concerns for the math. But yeah, presentation's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. The math is
want
definitely weird. 3d6. The numbers are just so big. The bonus
the
numbers
numbers
just get so
much
big.
huger
and
than they
it's-
need to be on a
No.
bell curve system.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're rolling flat d20s, I think it would actually work pretty well. You know,
what it does.
Rudin, I think the reason that they did that, I think Rudin hit the nail on the head when he said they were trying to stick to their little 616. They thought that was cute and clever, so they wanted to stick to the 3d6, but not. I don't think the 3d6 is the best vehicle for this game.
Yeah, I don't know if
Right.
you should base a system on a gag.
a gimmick.
Yeah,
Right.
like it definitely seems questionable. But so my whole issue is just it does seem like it definitely cements people into like, hey, I'm Thor, you're Daredevil, you cannot hurt me. You know what I mean?
Right, and you have no chance.
And like
right.
that's fair. That is true in the MCU, and it does seem to actually lend to like comic book realism. But also, like, I don't want to play that. You know,
Right.
like what if I do something clever? Like, I should be able to at least hurt him a little. But
Then you get an edge, John.
yeah,
Yeah.
an edge.
Of course, if you're going to get through his 4 ranks of armor that give him 40 damage reduction, that
Okay,
would be
fine.
a miracle.
You can have 2 edges, Rudin.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like there's the power scaling is very. It
Strong.
definitely, yeah, it definitely locks you into you have to stay in your lane, kinda, which is like, I can't really be mad about it
Yeah, I
because
can't
that
fault
is
you.
how comic books work. But
That's also how role playing works without having to be forced into that narrow hallway. That's just how role playing
yeah,
works.
you
You're
really
gonna
are
be good
being
at the thing that
crammed.
you do.
Sure.
They're doing a lot of cramming into cram holes. I agree. But yeah, no, I look forward to seeing the whole game. I'll definitely want to play it. And I
Me too.
definitely enjoyed what I saw so much. And it's cool. Like the playtest is in the form of a trade back. If you read comics, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
It's just like one. And
I guess as an art book, it's probably worth it alone.
honestly,
like, even if you never
yeah,
plan to play
this
the game,
like you
the
can't
art
get
book's
it
probably
the
worth it.
idea from the compendium that I've been showing this whole time. But like
It's
there's
over 100 pages.
yeah,
a
there's
lot of
art on it like every page.
Yep.
Or every other page rather. But yeah, so that's the Marvel Multiverse role playing game playtest. Check it out. You can get it on Amazon for like $10. You can get it on a few other places, and you can get it on Roll20 as a compendium, which I'm not necessarily going to tell you to do. Like the physical copy is much nicer. But
I would rather have the physical copy on my shelf than have the compendium on my Roll20.
yeah, it's very true. But yeah, so that's it for us. This has been Fresh Out the Box. Reads another book. I am the Game Master Johanan at RockFact on Twitter.
I'm the co-host of Fresh Out the Box. It's me, Casualty, CDG. You can find Jahan and I every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Johananon. Also, Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. If you Google it, we pop up on YouTube now. We're the #1 result for Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. That's big news for me. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
If you want to see us talking about games, playing games, or interviewing creators, this is the place to be. If you like movies and pop culture stuff, we have a podcast called Fresh Out the Podcast. We do big spoiler episodes for movies. We did like a huge Doctor Strange thing the day after it came out. So if you're into that kind of stuff, come check out Fresh Out the Podcast. There's a new episode every single Sunday. And other than that, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sticking around for months and pledging some more months to come. We love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Rune, take it away.
And I've been Rune. I'm nobody important on the internet, which is just the way I like it. But tonight, I have been fresh out the box with these wonderful gentlemen. And I hope you found me entertaining and not annoying and pedantic. But my expertise lies in superhero settings, role-playing games, and comic books. So I seemed like the appropriate person to come talk about this.
You sure did, and that's why we had you. Thank you so much for being here, Rune.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thank
for having
you,
me.
Vampire Bites, for all your support. And yeah, everybody have a good night. Stay fresh.